of Mandukya Upanishad, and in this contrast comparison of the three states, the Jagrat, the Swapna, the Sushupti, as compared to the fourth, he has taken both the Jagrat Avastha and the Swapna Avastha, the waking and the dream, as one. And he only discusses this one dream state and one deep sleep state, and he compares that to the fourth. So he reduces the 3 to 2, and he only compares that to the Turiya, the fourth. And in that discussion, we were seeing different thoughts over here. We've reached the 16th Karika, that Anadimayaya Suptaha Yada Jiva Prabudyate Ajamanidramaswapnam Advaitam Budyate Tada. Over here, he is referring to the extroverted mind as the waker, the introverted mind as the dreamer, and the passive mind as the deep sleeper. So the extroverted mind, the introverted mind, both minds, when they're active, they project. And that is the projection which he refers to as agrahanam, where this apprehension of one's own true nature was not there, and because of that anyatha grahanam, the jiva picks up identification with something else, namely the body, the mind, the intellect, which is the first set of identification, the equipment, and the equipment created identification with the waking state, with the waking objects, the dream state with the dream objects. And in the deep sleep state, which is a reality devoid of any identification with object, not is there, no identification with the object. But in the deep sleep state, there is no identification even with one's own true nature, and it is complete void. So Anadi Mayaya, born out of this beginningless Maya, this Maya beginningless, identified with it, Suptaha, the Jiva is deluded. Over here, Supta is asleep, but literally what is meant by is consumed by ignorance. The Jiva is continuously enveloped with this ignorance, from beginningless ignorance. Jiva, yada, when the Jiva, prabudyate, when he wakes up, when the Jiva wakes up, ajam, the Jiva realizes, oh, I never was transmigrating at all. I am the ever-born, ever-present consciousness which has never ever ceased to be, and in its presence all is going on. So the wrong identification, the non-identification with one's own reality created misidentification, and that is, from that standpoint, it is ajam. From the standpoint of the Jiva which is born, the supreme reality knows no birth. Ajam anidram is devoid of any sleep. Over here, sleep is avidya. There is absolutely no ignorance. Ajam anidram aswapnam. And because there is no ignorance, there is no projection. So aswapnam, there is no projection. Projection is only because of ignorance. Advaitam, there is non-dual presence, ever present of one's awareness. This Advaitam buddhyate tada, that person is ever awakened. So this jiva, when they find a teacher, and when the teacher gives the upadesh born out of Vedas, that you are that, and in the fixing of the identity, you are that, the misconception created snake, just like there is no such thing as snake. On the rope itself, the snake is seen, but when the real identity of the rope is known, there is absolutely no presence of snake, and that is known as Advaitam buddhyate tada, what is known as one's own true nature. When it is known, that alone is, and that removes all types of confusion, and that is what Shankaracharya ji says, that that person, when they wake up, there is no confusion. Continuing, Karika number 17. Prapancho yadi vidyeta, nivarteta na samshayaha, maya matramidam dvaitam, advaitam paramarthataha. So over here, what is, this is a unique shloka again. This Karika also very nicely explains, yadi, when, prapanchaha vidyeta, when this prapancha is a, now you'll have to get used to this terminology everywhere. Prapancha will be used in this whole textbook. Prapancha, none other than the 5 elements created elemental world. So the whole pluralistic projection of the 5 elements is prapancha. Prakarshena panchikrutam, very well created with 5 elements, the duality, the plurality. So when this prapancha, yadi prapanchaha vidyeta, over here vidyeta, when the elemental created 5-fold world of the 5 elements, the world is taken to be real, vidyeta. Over here, what happens then? If this world is taken to be real, then it would not disappear. So over here it is said, nivartetana samshayaha, then it will not, there is no doubt of its disappearance. It would never ever disappear. But the very fact that this world, in due time, it disappears. Objects disappear, people disappear, things disappear, situations disappear, seasons come and go, everything is as though disappearing. And it is the disappearance which is noticed more than the appearance. The absence is noticed, and the absence of this world is the one which is capable of creating sorrow. The arrival creates joy, it is very short-lived, it is not acknowledged as easily. But the disappearance, when there is a disappearance of things, it creates real sorrow, and that real sorrow is known as samsara. Because it is taken to be real, and that's why I call it real sorrow. Real sorrow only for the jiva that takes the world to be real. Over here, prapancha yadi vidyeta. If it is taken to be real, then the sorrows are also very much real for that person. But over here, Gaudapadacharya ji says, if this plurality were taken to be real, then it should not disappear. But the fact that it disappears, maya matramidam dvaitam. Thus it is maya matra. And this is the contemplation over here, the nitya anitya vastu vivek, when Shankaracharya ji brings up in Tattva Bodh, in Atma Bodh, in Viveka Chudamani and all those definitions that he gives of what is the vivek. This is where he brings those ideas from, that discrimination should be born out of proper observation and understanding. And if it is not there, if that discrimination is not there, then the lack of discrimination creates sorrow. And it is the lack of discrimination which is the source of all types of calamities in the jiva's life, and that is why Maya persecutes. So over here he says, Maya matramidam dvaitam, thus it is Maya. And thus it is to be taken with a pinch of salt. The yadi is very important. Yadi prapancha vidyeta. If it is taken to be real, then the world would not disappear. But the fact is that the world disappears. And because it disappears, maya matramidam dvaitam. And we have to fill in the gaps over here. He has just written, it is to be assumed that therefore, because it was taken to be real, and because the experience is that it really does disappear, these two statements are contradicting. If it is real, then it should not disappear, but it disappears. Then there is something wrong. That means this world which is appearing is Maya. Maya matramidam dvaitam. And advaitam paramarthataha. And therefore, advaitam is the reality over here. And over here, Shankaracharya ji, in his bhashya over here, he takes again the same example of the rope and the snake. Satyamevam syat prapanchaha yadi vidyeta rajvam sarpaiva kalpitatvat natu sa vidyate. When the inquiry is made into the snake, there is no such thing as snake. In the same way, when the inquiry is made into this world, then the inquiry itself, when it is made, it reveals that it cannot be real, because if it were real, it would remain the way it is forever. It would never disappear, but the fact it disappears, it is Maya matram. And in this way, nahi rajvam bhranti buddhya kalpitaha sarpa vidyamanaha san vivekataha nivartataha. That snake which is seen on the rope, there is only one way to remove that snake, and that is vivek. We cannot take a stick and go beating on the rope. If we start beating on the rope, nothing is going to happen. So over here he says, vivekataha, only by proper discrimination the snake can be gotten rid of. There is no other way to get rid of the snake except Vivek. In the same way, the sorrow born out of samsara can only be gotten rid of by understanding Vivek. That is why Bhagavan Krishna starts the whole Bhagavad Gita, Ashocyananvashochastvam. The basis of Bhagavad Gita is you grieve for that which should not be grieved for. This Vedanta is for fixing my problem because I have the problem. The next door neighbor's problem I cannot take care of. Forget about the next door neighbor. Even my spouse, my child, my parent, I cannot help them. They have to help themselves to Vedanta. Vedanta can only help a person who does Vivek themselves. It is not to be taught, it is to be caught and lived. And thus it is Naiva Maya Maya Vina Prayuktaha Tad Darshinam Chakshuhu Bandhapagame Vidyamana Sati Nivrutta. This one who sees Maya, that person, if they continue to see Maya, they will be persecuted by Maya. The one who intelligently diffuses Maya in understanding, they will be spared from the sorrows born out of Maya. Those people, tat darshinam, only when that absolute is seen. And that is why over here it is said Advaitam Paramarthataha. Paramarthataha, absolute. Only when absolute is known, when absolute is seen, Maya disappears. Maya cannot stand. The darshan of the absolute and Maya, they both cannot exist Yugapad. They cannot both exist together. That is why over here, Naiva Maya Maya Vina Prayukta Tad Darshinam. For that person who sees, there is no such thing as Maya because it cannot exist together. It cannot exist. Prayukta Tad Darshinam Chakshuhu Bandhapagame. That person who has seen Maya, it will create bondage, bandhanam. But the one who has seen absolute, to that person who has the absolute drashti, Maya cannot create any bandhan. Tatha idam prapanchakhyam maya matram dvaitam rajjuvan maya vivachyam dvaitam. So, in the same way, prapanchakhyam maya matram, this prapancha, 5 element created world, it is maya matram, it is illusion. And in this way, paramarthataha tasmat na kinchit prapanchaha pravruttaha nivruttaha va asti iti abhiprayaha. In this absolute awakening, there is not even a drop of duality, lesh matra, even a wee bit of duality does not exist in the absolute awakening. And this is what is implied over here. Now, there may be a doubt that exists in a student's mind. So Shankaracharya ji, because the Karikas go on, so Karikas go on And in this Karika from 17 to 18, Gaudapadacharya ji uses a term, and Shankaracharya ji brings up this doubt over here. Nanu shasta shastram shishya iti vikalpa katham nivartete iti uchyate. This scripture is for teaching. The scripture is meant for teaching, and it is meant for teaching the shishya, the student, and the student is taught the scripture by the teacher. So Guru, Shishya, and the Guru and Shishya are united by Shastra. So Shankaracharya ji brings this doubt that if you have said that there is Shishya iti vikalpaha katham nivartate iti uchyate, when you say that there is absolutely no room for any duality, absolute existence alone is that there is not even a wee bit of duality, then where does this teaching come from? What is a guru? Who is a guru? Who is a scripture? And who is this student? Is it not that all three exist in Maya, and because the three exist in Maya, Shastra becomes Maya, the Guru becomes Maya, and the teaching becomes Maya? Then what am I doing sitting in front of you? If Advaitam alone is, what is the validity of this? This is very important. So Gaudapadacharya ji's Karika addresses the 18th Karika. Vikalpo vinivarteta
Vikalpo vinivarteta
kalpito yadi kenachit
Kalpito yadi kenachit
Upadeshad ayam vadaha
Upadeshad ayam vadaha
Jnate dvaitam na vidyate.
Jnate dvaitam na vidyate.
So yadi, in case, kenachit, anybody, in case anyone, vikalpaha, they, vikalpaha kalpitaha, they imagine duality. In case anybody who imagines duality, and who imagines duality? The ignorant. Who is the ignorant? The student. So in the teacher Shastra and the student is the one who has arrived to the teacher, and it is to the student the world persecutes, and it is to the student who desires liberation has sought out the teacher, and it is the student's mind which is confused. So when it is said yadi kenachit vikalpaha kalpitaha, in case if there is somebody who imagines this duality, it is implied it is a student over here. So it is a student who implies, then vinivarteta, this, if anybody who imagines or projects this manifold idea of this creation, then this manifold projection vinivarteta, only if it is imagined it will go away. If it is not imagined, if it is taken to be real, then if the projection is taken to be real, which he addressed in the previous shloka, then it would not disappear. But it does disappear. So the projection is Maya. And in case if there is a person who projects, so the student is there, because the last shloka was understood, last karika was understood, but the experience's projection continues. So then how do I get vinivarteta? How do I get rid of it? So this projection has to disappear. This projection has to be gotten rid of. So how do I get rid of it? So now Gaudapadacharya ji says, Ayam vadaha upadeshat. Now what you are reading, the Shastra becomes Upadesh. So there is a difference. Yes, Shastra is part of Maya. Yes, Shastra is part of projection. Just like you projected bondage, in the same way, the Guru was projected, Shastra was projected. But the Shastra becomes Ayam Vadaha Upadeshat. Now it becomes, this explanation is for the purpose of teaching. The Shastra, an explanation, is for the purpose of teaching Upadesha. Jnate dvaitam na vidyate. And if this Upadesha is followed, even though Upadesh is part of Maya, and Upadesh being part of Maya, it becomes a cause for coming out of Maya. And Shankaracharya ji and other acharyas, they even give an example that if a terrifying dream, a nightmare is there, and in that nightmare, this tiger is chasing me, and I frantically run away from the tiger, and there is a giant stone, but my drashti is on the tiger behind me. Every so often I'm turning in the back and looking at the tiger and running, and that stone I trip over and I fall. When I trip over that stone and I fall, all of a sudden I wake up and I find myself in a bed, broken out in sweat. So the dream stone became a cause of coming out of dream. That dream stone, it may be an obstacle, but it was a very welcomed obstacle. Part of the dream, but yet served the purpose of informing me that it is a dream, because it became a cause for my fall and I woke up. In the same way, this Upadesh is part of Maya, but it is this Upadesh which pulls me out of Maya. And thus, this has to be understood. Jnate dvaitam na vidyate. Only when I follow this Upadesh, when I follow this teaching, and when the teaching is understood, then in the light of the understanding of the teaching, there exists no duality. Duality vanishes. Thus, only upon understanding the non-dual nature of Brahman and my own non-dual nature, I realize, oh, there is no such thing as Guru Naiva Shishya. Even in Atma Shatakam, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, I alone am. At the end of it, he even says that there is no Guru and there is no Shishya. That doesn't mean we can kick out Guru, we can kick out scriptures. Even he will say, Shankaracharya ji will say, that until that happens, until one realizes Guru is real, I continue to serve the same Guru and the same Shastra who woke me up. Otherwise, who would have awakened me? Realizing I alone am. But once upon a time there was confusion. And it became a source of alleviating my confusion. Thus, over here, this Upadesh is very nicely talked about. Now, Upanishad continues. There are 12 mantras in this Upanishad. So, we continue with the 8th mantra of Upanishad. You may wonder why it is in the sequence of numbering. How does it go from 18 to 8? Remember, it goes back to the Upanishad. So, that's why it says, here again is the Mandukya Upanishad. What is the Mandukya Upanishad 8th mantra? Saha ayam atma
ayam atma
adi aksharam omkaraha
adi aksharam omkaraha
adimatram padamatraha matrascha pada akara ukaro makara iti. So, we were discussing this Upanishad started out with Sarvam hi etad omkara eva. It started out by, everything is Om. So, when the Upanishad started out with that everything is Om, Om iti etad aksharam idagam sarvam tasyopavyakyanam bhuta bhavyad bhavishyat iti sarvam omkara eva. This is the first mantra. So now the Upanishad wants to continue with what it started. It started with Omkar. So it is saying Saha ayam atma. Which ayam atma? We have to understand Nanta prajna, na bahish prajna, no bhayata prajna, na prajna, na prajnana ghana, all that. So that Atma, which was very clearly, precisely defined in the 7th mantra as me, that consciousness as me, that Atma, Adi Akshara Omkaraha. That Atma itself is Omkar. That over here, Adi Akshara, Adyaksharam Omkaraha, from that Atma, from the standpoint of this Atma, the Omkar which was referred to in the first mantra, that Omkar alone is Atma and Atma is Omkar. They are not two different things. So now what is that Omkar? Adimatram padaha, over here, Adimatram padaha, from the standpoint of this Om, the way in which Omkar is created, uma, there are matras. Adhimatras, there are 3 distinct matras in here from the standpoint of the way in which this Omkar is uttered. There are these three matras sound, and matrascha padaha, and these matras, they have a distinct pad, a portion, and the portion over here talked about is akara, ukar and makara iti, and the pada is a, u and ma. So what is this a, what is this u, what is this ma? These are the three syllables a, u, ma, born out of these padas, these quarters, this description. And we will continue with the 9th mantra, because it is, each pada is now going to be addressed, the 9th mantra, 10th and 11th. These three padas will be addressed in one mantra, and the last mantra, the 12th mantra, is the summary of it. So in this way the Upanishad is over. Very simple. A, u, ma. It will explain what is a, u, ma, and over. Then the whole karikas, the explanation about this will start. So Jagaristhanah Vaishwanarah Akarah Prathama Matra Aptehe Aptehe Adimatvatva Apnoti Havai Sarvan Kaman Adishcha Bhavati ya evam Veda. So Jagaristhanah Vaishwanarah Akarah Prathama Matra Aptehe Adimatvatva Apnoti Havai Sarvan Kaman Adishcha Bhavati ya evam Veda. So what is this mantra saying? Jagaristhanah, the waking state. Vaishwanarah Akarah. So a, u, ma. The minute we open our mouth, the first matra that comes out is the utterance of Omkar, Akarah. And what is this Akara? Prathama matra. It is the very first part, the first letter. And now it is defined. A is defined by a, U is defined by U, the letter U will be taken, and Ma will be defined by the letter Ma. So because this is Akar, over here the Upanishad takes the A letter and it utilizes the Shabda in Sanskrit from A to explain what is Atma with respect to A and what is waking with respect to A. Try to follow the logic that the Upanishad uses. It takes a while to figure that out. So what has the Upanishad taken? Upanishad has taken two definitions of this Akar. And what are the two definitions that it has taken of the Akar? The first one is Aptehe. Aptehe, in Sanskrit, it is one of the definition of Atma. Apnoti aptehe iti atma. What is the definition of aptehe? That which pervades, that which smears, that which is everywhere. So, on the account of its all pervasiveness, the akara matra of Om is all pervasive nature. And this all pervasive nature is where it is said in the Jagaristhana, in the waking state, all pervasiveness. Then aptehe adimatvatva apnoti iti atma. Another definition is apnoti. Apnoti, the first definition is aptehe, the one which completely pervades. Apnoti, that which attains. And it attains what if somebody says? So the Upanishad comes over here and it describes Havai sarvan kamans aditi. It attains what? It attains its desires. It fulfills its desires. Where does it fulfill? In the waking state. It is only in the waking state we can fulfill our desires. So that Atma, all pervasive Atma, attains desires in the waking state. This is Akar. Akar is explained over here, that Jagaristhanaha, in the waking state. This waker is known as what? Vaishvanara. And what is the real identity of the Vaishvanara? Atma. And what is the purpose of that Atma? What is that Atma? It is Akar. And what is Akar? Amatra. It is all pervading. Then why did it manifest over there? To attain. To attain what? Desires. The fulfillment of desires. Somebody may say, why creation? Why was it created? Atma created itself in plurality, with itself, pervaded itself for enjoying endless desires. That's all. Apnoti, it attains. So, bhavati ya evam vedaha. This is what is the first part, being the first. And adimatvacha apno aptehe adimatvat. I didn't explain the adimatvat. I explained aptehe and apnoti. Now what is this adimatvat? Adimatvat is because of its account of being first. Adi meaning beginning. Now so many things can be taken as Adi. Adi meaning Atma alone was there in the beginning. That is one. Without it being in the beginning, no second can come out. So, Adi meaning it becomes the cause of the second. So, it alone was in the beginning. It becomes the cause for the second. If it becomes the cause of the second, who attains second? It alone attains second. It alone attains the desires. So, if it is the beginning, if it alone is the cause of the second, then it is the second, and the first and the second and the third and the fourth, all created becomes all pervading Atma alone. Because nothing was there to create the second. Adimatvat, it is the beginning. It is there in the beginning. That Atma which is in the beginning, it alone is which has created this plurality. Why has it created plurality? Apnoti, to attain. To attain what? Desires. Who attains? It alone attains. So actually it is all Advaitam. It is all non-dual. This requires contemplation. This is, it's very simply, it is just put in a mantra. But the definitions and waking of the four states, Jagrat, Swapna, Shushupti, waking state is also Adi. It is the first of the four. Where does realization take place? Not in the dream state, only in the waking state. So it is Adi. Only in the waking state, the waker will come to know that it is Adi. In the deep sleep state, how can the waker know? So Adi Matvat. In this way, this mantra number 9, now upon explaining the definition of Atma, Nanta Prajna, Bahish Prajna, blah blah blah, all that, now it comes and says, actually it is Advaitam. Waking is Advaitam. If plurality is seen, it should not be seen. If it is seen, that means confusion is there. Then go back and pick up mantra number 7 and come back and say, Vaker, Atma, Adimatvat, Apnoti hi Adehe. I am the all-pervading self. This is for understanding, It's a very, very high understanding. So, waking state over here is addressed as Akar. Akar is described as Aptehe, Adimatvat, and Apnoti. And in all three, what is established is absolute oneness. It is established. Even though it is for the attainment of Kaman, whose Kaman? My Kaman. Who created? Me. If I created, then I was the beginning. I was the one at the forefront of desires. So they are all mine. All desires enjoyed by all jiva in all waking state, in all time, it is that one Atma. So in that knowledge, I have to diffuse the waker. If I am the waker chasing desires, it is my job to dissolve desires in the understanding knowledge that I am this Atma. Thus, it is to take the waking state and resolve the waking state into the all-pervading self. This is to be understood. This is to be contemplated. Think about this. before we enter the dream state. So now ukar will be taken, and u. Again, very beautifully, the Rishi over here, Mandukya Upanishad Rishi, what an amazing Shruti revelation. Utilizing U, he will allow us to diffuse our dream state. So dream state will be equated to U. So when we sit quietly and do Om, as we are saying the Om, this understanding should be in the background. So very easy to say but what really is mantra number 9. We will have Mandukya Upanishad class next week on Tuesday. Monday I won't be able to. Tuesday we will have. So Tuesday, Wednesday we will continue our class. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurupyo Namaha. Harihi Om.